Hello, my dear friends, my dear audiences. Welcome to the show, Jack Chow on East West with G&E TV. We're in Los Angeles, meaning we're in Hollywood. In Hollywood, you're next to the big tower, and you get chances to see sometimes in the restaurant. You come across some big man, a big woman, whatever. By the way, big woman, I'm saying that they are big, not they're big by size. All right. So today, I am especially flattered to have this opportunity to sit face to face with a man, great man, who has established himself early as a writer and a music, working with such music greats such as Jackson Browne and Elton John. And this is such a man that has written and produced many successful songs, appearing on over 300 million records sold. Yeah. The market must be yours, totally yours, including the #1 hit, Open My Heart.
Open your heart.
Open your heart. Of course, you open my heart. Yeah, okay. Open your heart for Madonna, right?
Madonna.
Madonna. And as well as top 10 singles for Stevie Nicks.
She was one of the original founders of a very big group called Fleetwood Mac.
I see. And in addition to scoring and composing for numerous films and TV shows, this is the person acted in as many as 10 films already. And the list goes on and on and on. I better give the name. His name is so loud, Peter Raffleson. All right, Peter, thank you. Thank you very much for coming to the show. You're totally welcome.
Well, I'm honored to be here today.
Sure, all right. And I did some homework, but I can only do this much because this list goes so long. And I know if all the credit and credentials has to be represented by a badge or a medal or anything, or even a little pin, you got to be wearing a blanket instead of a jacket because you'll be running out of rooms, right?
There's always room for more, Jack.
There's always room for more. Well said. How about you tell my audience about yourself, please? Call an introduction.
Sure. Well, I'm actually third generation Hollywood. My family background is interesting. My great uncle was a man named Samson Rafelson, who created the first films with sound. One of the most famous movies, first movie, we call it Talkie because it had talking. And this was a musical film called The Jazz Singer. And this was a very famous film in music history. My father then went on to create what we call the independent film business. And he worked very closely with my godfather, who was Jack Nicholson, the famous actor.
All right.
And they created many movies. They created TV shows, famous music shows like The Monkees was a big one.
I see.
And The Monkees was the first show to ever have a music video, music and video together. Then they went on to create big movies like Easy Rider, Five Easy Pieces. These are all award-winning movies.
All right.
And for 30 years, I grew up seeing them making films.
Oh, yeah.
At a very young age, I took an interest in music. And by the time I was 20 years old, I'd already had the beginnings of a great career. I was very blessed.
That's why you started early.
I started
right?
early, yes,
Very
I did.
Early, yeah.
and I never stopped. And by the time I was 25, I had some of the biggest songs ever. Madonna, Britney Spears, the Go-Go's, Fleetwood Mac, Stevie Nicks. All of these songs helped me establish a name as a songwriter and a producer. What was interesting was that I never signed any deal with a company to be exclusive or to be employed.
All right.
And at an early age, I became a businessman. And I had to learn how to take my creative work and combine that with business.
All right.
And that's really what set me on a path to becoming what I think of it more as a businessman. Every day, today even, I will still write and I will still produce. But I also have built up a great business that allows me to continue doing what we all enjoy, and that is to be creative.
From this short introduction about yourself, of course, you omitted lots of stuff that I can tell. Number one, you have the blood, right? You heritage the blood from your great uncle, great grandpa.
Great uncle, you were right.
Great uncle, right? Okay, who was the first.
He was
right
a
after
screenplay
the silent
writer.
film time.
That's correct.
Who was very first with the music, with sound.
Yes.
Right. Okay. And then number two, you expose yourself when you were at a young age to the whole environment.
Yes.
Meaning that not only do you have the blood, but also you are in the environment.
And I'll give you a great example, Jack. When I was growing up as a young boy, I lived in a house in Hollywood where my parents would entertain the most famous people in the world. And I can remember going downstairs from my room into my living room and seeing the Beatles and Bob Dylan. And I was a little boy, and I would say to them, can you please be quiet now, because I have to go to sleep. I have school in the morning. I didn't know really how big they were, but I was, you're right, I had a beautiful blessing of the opportunity to be exposed at an early age to the biggest names in the world. And this was my education and my inspiration.
Of course, early exposure to the whole industry.
Yes.
The way I call it. This is number 1 point. And number 2 point, I noticed that you have never signed a contract of exclusivity with anybody.
That's right.
In making you who you are.
Yeah.
In other words, you totally establish yourself by yourself. The reason I put this with lots of emphasis is that nowadays when you come across those big names, it might be something with lots of polish, lots of colors, lots of decorations, lots of money.
Yeah.
So on it.
Yep.
So I don't know. I'm not in the business. I may be wrong, but correct me if I'm wrong, though.
You're right.
And this is exactly I felt about your way of establishing yourself and growing from a child, saying that, can you please be quiet? I have a school to attend to in the morning.
Yes.
To the Beatles.
Yes.
Yeah, all right.
Yeah.
Okay. To where you are a man, almost everything. We haven't touched about the producing part, directing part, and the acting part yet.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
So, do you think that's these 2 points characterize yourself?
I think that's a fair characterization. Yeah. Yeah.
All right. Okay. Oh, very good. And from there on, though, I know you write music, right? From on blank sheets.
Yeah.
That's it. Number 1, right? And then you compose the music.
Yep.
Right. You produce the music.
Yes.
For me, from the moment of writing on a blank sheet all the way to production, miles away. How can it be possible put into one man?
It's a great
question. Tell me the
question.
magic, please.
You know, I always had a good knowledge of technology, and I was born at a time where computers didn't exist. But very early on, I learned about science, about math, about physics, and about music and spirituality and human communication. These are all the things that make up music, you see. When computers came along, suddenly I was way ahead of everybody else. I had the first Apple computer in California. I was making entire records on my own. This was a huge advantage. Technology gave me the tools to be able to express. But to answer your question, the key to everything that we do is the message behind it. This is, for example, in Mandarin languages where the symbols represent a message. And my goal as a producer was always to keep the message of the words and the music and to enhance that message. In the end, Jack, music is a language.
Oh yeah, of course.
And I love language, I love people, I love culture. Most importantly, I want to be able to communicate that message. So to me, whether I'm writing or producing or promoting or marketing or filming or shooting or directing, it's always about the message underneath.
All right, it's all about the message underneath. What a statement. So let's take a short moment out. When we come back, we'll still find out more information, especially to young people. This might be a moment of education. So stay with me. We'll be right back.